You don't have any other stuff back here that you're switching around, or do you?
Oh yeah, you know me. We're just gonna change it all and, you know, lie and cheat.
That's gonna be the intro.
There we go. That works.
You know. Man, that engine must have swelled up hard to get through that door.
I know, it's all that power, man.
Huh.
Too much power. There she is. It's definitely not going to leak.
No.
I don't like doing the between the surfaces, but that's what we're going to have to do here. There's that. So the weld looks good. Weld didn't break there.
The weld here on the crank.
Yeah, that looks all good. And then the cam didn't slip, so it's good. Oh. Looks pretty basic there.
Yeah.
Driven pump.
So this here is the, isn't it like an 8.7 liter?
8.3 pump.
Or 8.3.
Yeah.
8.3 oil pump from Power Driven Diesel. Should we get a pan to put down under there? Unless we'll be tripping over it, probably. Alright.
These things are good for something. Good for catching things like that.
Nice. So when disassembling the engine, what are some things that you're going to be looking for?
Anything that looks goofy. Nah, you just pay attention to all the small stuff. Funny wear marks, pieces that are missing, fluid, cracks. We'll look at the soot in the pistons, look at the soot on the head, the injector spray pattern, how far up on the bowl it goes. Look at the crosshatch, you know, kind of basic stuff.
So how much runtime has this engine had since the pull?
Since the 3400 pull?
Yeah.
Trying to load it on the trailer and then unloading it, driving it in the bay today. So 2 minutes,
okay.
2 to 4 minutes of chugging.
Okay.
Whatever you want to call it, what it was doing.
So very minimal runtime.
Oh yeah, for sure. It wouldn't respond to any throttle.
Okay.
So there was no way to climb the trailer.
Okay.
But we did try to.
Gotcha. Well, let's get her disassembled and go from there.
I'm going to do it this way.
Oh, you don't use an impact?
No, I don't like using impact on head studs.
Gotcha.
It just makes you uneasy feeling, you know. Because after all, it didn't sound very good, whatever. You know, I think the thought of an impact sitting there pounding on a stud is just a bad idea.
Right.
Or leaving the injectors in it so that we can try to keep the pistons as dry as possible.
Uh-huh.
That way you get to read as much as you can.
Gotcha.
take off the alternator thingy. It's not bolted down no more. Why don't you hold me down? Oh. That's good enough.
Whole head slid there.
I almost dropped the motherfucker. Could you imagine? Oh, bam! Right on the floor. Oops.
Takes out Daniel's camera stand and shit.
Yep. At least we caught it on video.
Dude.
Imagine that whole head just falling off that short block just like it sits. Breaks the BD right off of it.
Sorry, guys. Another one.
Okay. As soon as you're off there, we're going to take it and we're going to set it down and tip it up. So take it, set it kind of on the back edge, push it back and up in that upper left corner and then flip it up.
So thermostat edge.
Yeah, thermostat edge, intake to the top. Yeah, you did. Really good. Really good place.
How exciting.
How exciting.
They look beautiful.
They do.
Now I see a lot of fluid up here, especially in cylinder 2. What do we...
I mean, we know we had some cracks, right?
Right.
So it's obviously all water, or looks to me like all water. But all 6 slugs are there.
They're there.
They're there. So now we'll just sit here and, you know, get as much out as you can. So much for keeping them dry, but you can see the front really good on number 3. Like where the flame goes.
Alex, where's your light at?
It's in my pocket. If you hold the button down, it'll dim down.
I have a softer light.
You gotta hold it.
Bro.
Click it one more time.
Bro.
Now click it and hold. There you go, that's dimmest.
There we go. No, see? See? It died, bro. Okay.
Is that soft enough?
Yeah. So, kind of explain to me what we're seeing here. You're saying something about the flame and whatnot?
Well, you can see the very edges of where the flame burns. And you can tell how the timing looks and everything. Like, you see the edge there?
Oh, okay.
The plume is not going over up onto the top of the piston. It's all staying in the center of the bowl area and then kind of over this lip, how it's supposed to. So it's not like it had 1,000,000,000,000 degrees of timing in it.
Right.
You know, when you can see the soot moving all the way out to the edge.
So that's what you're looking for, is where the soot is mainly.
Yeah, kind of just, you can see very trail edges of where the injector lines up and the stream of fuel lines up. And you can just tell that it doesn't have a whole lot of timing in it. It's got timing. I'm not saying it doesn't have timing.
Right.
But
just not
it's not radical.
Gotcha.
It's safe.
Actually, this number 1, you can see it really well.
That's why you want to keep them dry so you can see it.
Well, you can see it really well in the number 1.
Yeah, it didn't have coolant spraying on it.
But you can see a valve impression.
Oh.
Number 6, you see the valve.
We only spun 4,600 RPM, 4,630 RPM.
We'll have to rotate that up and check that out. Head gasket looks good. Now, is this engine fire ringed head and block?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, half and half.
People always like to know that.
Okay. We need a full power kit to rotate the crank.
You know what those pistons are, Daniel?
Chris said that they're stock style pistons.
Stock Cummins pistons.
Not yet. Get us a ratchet set up to turn this thing.
Is it a 1/2-inch drive or
It can be either it's a 16 or 5/8. The 3/8 fits better. There we go.
Oh, it's weird. Check that out. You ready?
Yeah.
Crank's not bad.
Well, it's still in one piece.
Where you want it?
That's fine. We're just getting up here to look at it.
So kind of explain to us what you're seeing on that piston 1 there.
Well, you can definitely, the first thing you see is that there's a valve mark where the piston did contact the valve. Now, as to why it did it, we don't know. It's not RPM, but it could be like a bearing problem or a rod cap problem or something where the piston goes up taller. It could be a any sort of valve train issue. It could be a whole lot of boost opens the intake valve, because I think it is the intake valve that hit. So there's a number of variables that'll lead to that.
Okay.
And then you can see back here, it did the same thing.
Seems a little bit.
Both intake valves.
Yeah, they're both intake valves that hit.
So valve springs possibly not holding it
It could be.
shut.
I don't know that it's that, because they're 110-pound Hamilton race springs.
Okay.
So, to my knowledge, they're the highest rate spring on the market.
A lot of different variables though.
A lot of different
A lot of
variables.
different variables.
Okay. You want to hold the pan? All you.
Lots of water, but no metal.
That's exciting.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You guys gonna be ready to go sled pulling this weekend?
Yeah, we got another motor. Alright, so now we got 15s, and then I think these might be 12s, I don't recall.
Yeah, I think they were weird.
Whose girdle is that?
It's a Beans Machine 14mm girdle,
Okay.
and it has fixed our fretting issues on all stuff in the past. Where the rod caps, or not the rod caps, the main caps were dancing around.
Okay.
Once we went to this girdle, they didn't dance anymore. Last time we had it apart, there was some little signs on, I think it was like 5 and 6 caps where it was moving. But we've taken 1,000 RPM off the top so we don't spin it as high, and it's been a lot better ever since. Alright, you're doing that. I'm going to get the injection pump out of the way. I guess I get that. There we go. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to crack loose the rod cap, and then we're going to watch our display to see how many foot-pounds it takes.
Alright, let me step around here.
I think that's the right size. Feels like it.
Okay.
$140-ish.
Yep. That's pretty good. They torqued to 150, so that's pretty good.
That one went to 150 something.
Perfect. That's that. Alright, we need another socket to spin them out.
What size is that? 9/16?
I think so. This is the wrong size. There we go. That's the right size. Held on so good that you basically got to pry them off with a pair of pliers. Like they just don't fall off.
Now, kind of walk us through what you're seeing here.
Well, number one, we see the water. Right, we definitely ingested a lot of water.
Right.
And then we got some scratches. We got some material embedded in it. So it did not look like this after race week. We got pictures of what it looked like after race week. So we definitely pushed on it pretty good. And you can see how kind of milky it looks. See your pocket plug. So you can like slip the bearing out before you just really whoop up on it. It's definitely got stuff in it. It was definitely sacrificial.
Anything special about these bearings we need to let the people know?
No, they are, where's the part number? Right there, HX. Standard.
Standard bearings.
I drilled the hole myself. Pretty normal stuff. You want to go catch a piston, Alex?
Number one?
Oh wait, we gotta take the Scotch pad to get the soot off the top.
Oh yeah.
Is it all the way up though?
No, it's all the way down. There's a fresh piece back there on the parts washer. Happy with it?
There we go.
You're right here close. You've got about 3/4 of an inch.
You ready, Dan?
Yep.
extra push?
Yeah, give me one more little click.
Bring her over here. Alright. So, you can definitely see some scratching on the rings.
And that would be caused by...
You can do that with no air filter or ingesting crap. You know, there's lots of reasons. It normally doesn't look like that. There's definitely still tension in them.
So looking over this, kind of just go through your thoughts.
I think it looks pretty daggum good to me.
Okay.
Considering what we've done to it. I mean, you can look at the skirt and...
Right.
You know what the scratching on the rings is?
What?
When we pulled them out after UCC.
It could be. These rings have been out of the motor once.
Okay.
These rings went all through UCC.
Okay.
So that, and there was no air filter during sled pull, all that good stuff. So that could be a lot of it. But I mean, look at the skirt, dude. It looks great. Look at it all. The rings were sealing. Everything's just super happy.
Is this something you would reuse?
Absolutely. In a heartbeat.
Wrist pin looks well.
Mm-hmm. It looks a little tight. It's spinning on the piston good, but it looks a little tight in the rod.
Okay.
So we'll probably have to tap it out.
But definitely reusable though.
Rag. Yeah. Definitely reusable.
You'll see the crosshatch.
So now that we got the wrist pin out, what are we...
Well, we're not smushed. We're not poking out.
Okay.
There's a nice edge and you can see all the cross hatching. So it didn't blow out the bushing. It didn't egg shape it or waller it.
And now, where do you get that? Where do you get that bearing from?
That's all D&J there.
Okay, so these are D&J rods.
Yeah, and then diamond pins. Now it definitely, you can see the wear mark in the middle. It was tight on the rod.
Right.
So we'll have to hone those out.
In those wrist pins.
They might be egg shaped. We'll let the machinist tell us that.
Yeah.
What about the wrist pin?
Where do you get those from?
Tool Steel, or Trend Tool Steel H13. Trend Performance makes them. But it's all there.
It's all there in all of its
It
glory.
looks good, yeah. I mean, everything's really dirty and covered in water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's all there. It's a little tight. What do you expect when you beat it the way we do?
Right.
And the rod's straight.
Well, there's one. Let's get the other 5 out and see where we go.
That's right.
We got all these D&J rods pulled out of the engine. We got the bearings laid out. Just give us an overview on exactly what you think is going on here.
Well, we see a lot of things. We'll talk about the bearings first. Number one had some pretty good scoring.
Okay.
I guess I can flip it over so you can see the bottom too. But for what we did, I'm very impressed.
Number 2 looks decent.
Yep. So these bearings have 1,322 miles of street driving for race week and 1 dyno run on the bearings because we put new bearings in to go to race week. So to me, it's perfectly acceptable.
And no no show of stress in the rods or anything like that?
No, the rods have zero signs of any issues
Okay.
that I've seen. Now, we haven't pushed all the pins out,
Right.
but they all are tight.
Okay.
So whenever you roll it on the piston, like, you can't sit there and hold the pin and scooch it on the rod.
Right.
So it scooches in the piston, but they are tight on the rod, which, you know, kind of has to be expected for what we're doing with the truck. You can't really drive around a filled block on the street, and these are part of the consequences you have to deal with.
And
you can do it, but you have to be prepared for things like that.
Yeah. Piston rings, all that stuff looks...
So on the pistons and the rings and the rods, we have 10 dyno runs, 1 run at 3,400 horse, 2 runs at 25 to 2,800, 3 runs at 2,000, 17 runs, or 4 runs at 1,700. Then we have 3 sled pull hooks, and we have 8 passes in the 5s, plus the 1,300 miles of the street.
So is this the short block from UCC then?
Yes, this is the short block from
And
UCC.
it hasn't been opened since?
No, we opened it.
Okay.
We took it apart, we inspected, and we reused the rings, and we put new bearings in it, and then we went to race week.
Gotcha.
Because we kind of didn't know like how it was going to do at race week.
Right.
So we didn't want to overly invest.
Yeah.
And then shoved it all back together, did that, and then came home and did the dyno directly after. Like, we changed the oil afterwards, and that was it.
Gotcha.
So there is a lot of things that we're seeing in the piston. Like, the rings are shot, but maybe that was from UCC plus all the street driving we did. They have tension, but they're all scratched up.
Yeah.
And they're not sealing the best. Like, a few of them are kind of concerning. Like those, this is how it came out of the engine. Now, whether it rotated the rings around as it runs, the rings rotate, whether that's a coincidence or not, that's how it came out. And you can clearly see all the soot in between it. But the rings are definitely shot. They have tension, but they're scratched.
Yeah.
And then there's several of them. You can see how it wasn't sealing between them. And it's kind of not consistent.
Right.
Like, that one's okay. That's not bad there. None of this has been brake cleaned. So you could probably hit all this in the brake cleaner and it look great. I don't know.
Right.
But you can definitely tell it's not sealing there. And that one's kind of the same way. So whether we wiped out the ring,
one side looks good, but the other side is. So can you explain to the audience what would cause that?
Well, the way the air comes in the motor, it comes in those 2 valves and goes out those 2.
Right.
So it's naturally going to have turbulence and a path, right? That it's going to go in there and swirl and move around. So that can affect things like that. Okay. Now, if you start getting into like ring placement and sealing it up and all that, that's above my knowledge. I'll just put it together and send it. But
yeah, because like I said, it's really dark here, but then if you flip the piston around, it's not so bad.
Yep. So it's definitely, it's got some signs of things.
Yeah. So just pointing out the little details for you guys.
And then that one's really good. Like all the way around.
Right.
But it does, like, it has this weird soot line right above the ring all the way. So that's kind of odd. Now, we don't know how many pounds of boost we made.
Oh, because you're
on the dyno run.
Because you're running the stock map sensor.
Yeah. And we didn't really have the data logger all hooked up and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Because I chose, my data logger is a CTS3, which uses the OBD2 port.
Right.
And then I also data log with EFI Live because it's a Cummins 849 stock ECM.
Right.
You have your limitations there.
Yeah.
So I would rather capture the fuel data from the run than capture the boost and EGT data from the run. You can only do one at a time using the OBD2 system.
Makes sense.
But I'm pleasantly surprised with how good it looks. Now, we also don't know the ring damage on the 4 pistons that really show it. Was that from running on race week? Was that from running at UCC with no air filter all weekend? Or was that from one dyno run?
Right.
We don't know that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. Well, actually, I guess we do, because whenever we took it apart, it wasn't like that. Whenever we took it apart, it looked like that.
So it was either race week or one dyno
or the dyno run. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know what to really say about that. And if you ask me, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it lived.
So the rods will be reused, pistons will be reused.
Yeah.
Put all new bearings, obviously, and all that good stuff in there.
And then that thing, we're gonna have to do something about that because that head's done. It could be filled, like you could fill it for a sled pull application, but we run coolant in the head, and we have to have that.
Right.
And clearly, it's cracked multiple positions.
Yeah.
So the head's done for us.
So you say that you could reuse it in a sled pulling application filled, but are those cracks going to what's the word?
Grow?
Either grow or sacrifice power by any means?
I don't think it'll be a power thing.
Okay.
It'll definitely grow.
Okay.
Which there were already cracks between the valves.
Yeah.
And any Cummins guy that's ever done much of this knows that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's not alarming to us.
No.
The seats have kind of moved around a little bit.
Okay.
And that can have something to do with the crack.
Yeah.
But for a one and done type thing, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
But we obviously are going to fix that because we have to have coolant in this thing on the street. You know, it is what it is. The pins fit in there tight and the rings weren't really sealing.
Well, let's tear a little bit more into this motor and see what we can come up with.
The ring thing is a little bit surprising. I wasn't quite expecting that level.
I think we heard them when we pulled them out last time because we had that carbon and we scratched them.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to reuse them.
Well, we're not a machine engine
Do over 15.
shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not at all. And we'll kind of go over that in the overview. Like, hey, we reused the rings because we knew race week was going to be hard, and it was considered sacrificial. And then the dyno thing, well, that's definitely sacrificial. That's how we'll do a good overview of the damages. Because we don't care. There's no sense in spending thousands of dollars to refresh it.
Just to go beat it up.
Just to go blow it out of the frame. What's for lunch?
That's what I'm talking about.
It's probably 11 something, huh?
It's almost noon.
Well then, since it's straight up, we'll take that transmission and bust her down and then go to lunch.
Or we can do it when we come back from lunch.
Takes about 10 minutes.
I don't care.
Monk's hungry.
Huh.
Yes.
Alright, so what are you looking at here?
Well, we're looking for the rod caps dancing around. It's kind of hard to look because there's a lot of water.
Yeah.
But like here's some signs of fretting. You can see like the highs and lows.
Right.
So number 6 was dancing. 5.
And when you mean dancing, what, like, we gotta talk to
Doing
the
the
Tom and
two-step.
Joe about this. Okay.
Moving around, you know.
Okay.
Sitting there scooching around.
Okay.
So as you make power, you just flexing the crap out of all this stuff.
Right.
So you try to make it as rigid as possible. And you're just looking for signs of it moving, like right there. You can see
Oh yeah, you can see
that
there.
little gritty looking area.
Yeah.
But I don't see any huge
And your
gigantic cracks.
cam bearings all look good?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see them there. You can see all the tappets. You can see the wear on the tappet face. See little circular marks where it spins, and now obviously the oil is all slid down, you know.
Right.
If you just kind of reach down there and like wipe away the oil, you'll be able to see things. It's hard to read a motor when it's covered in oil.
Yeah. But the people want to see it in its, you know, right off the shelf, so.
That's right off the shelf. And then the bearings, you know, looking at number 1, of course it's covered in water and oil too. So now you can get a true read. It's got some scratches, but for what we're doing, we know that this engine isn't going to live 100,000 miles.
Right.
It's all sacrificial at this power level.
And at this power level, this is kind of like, these are consumables.
Oh yeah, that's why you have bearings.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. If it wasn't for that, it would have been a billet main cap sitting straight on a crankshaft, and you can't do that.
Right. And but this, and again at this power level also, this stuff is part of the maintenance program too. You know you're gonna have to change the stuff out. You know, you know you're not gonna get 100 dyno pulls out of the deal or anything like that. So, so at what power level do you consider this stuff more so that you have to maintain it? Like
at what level do you have to do this?
Right. Or check it more frequently than the...
Probably 2,000.
Okay.
If you're making 2,000 horse and you get upset that you have to take your motor apart and look at things, then you shouldn't be playing the game.
I gotcha.
I mean, it looks great to me.
And
maybe we made a bad call on the rings. Reusing the rings after UCC was probably a bad call.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we knew how hard race week was going to be on it, and so we didn't want to just throw more money at it. We don't have a lot of money to throw.
Right.
And then we knew we were dynoing after race week, so we didn't care.
Right.
Because either way, you're going to full send it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the rings look like,
right,
unless they're broke
right,
or like really hosed. But they didn't look that bad before race week. So either race week did that or the dyno did that.
Something did it.
Something did it.
And the crank.
It all looks good. I haven't measured it or anything yet, but it's there and it's in one piece. All the journals look really happy.
And the engine rotated freely.
Oh yeah, super. Yeah.
So it wasn't, the crank's not bent.
No.
Like out of whack.
No.
So
originally I thought maybe we'd broke a crank just because it was running so bad.
Yeah.
But the more we got to messing with it, the more we were diagnosing it.
So hearing the sound of it during race week and hearing the sound of it coming into the bay today, what do you think was going on there?
It's definitely down 2 holes is what I think, and it comes out 1 and 6 were really wet.
Okay.
Like the head was wet, and then we could see all the head spraying coolant in the exhaust passages.
Right.
But I also think that we did something fuel-wise because it had a huge pungent odor of raw diesel.
Okay.
And rail pressure was down.
Gotcha.
So there's probably a big leak. Now, whether an injector's stuck open or whatever, we don't know. If you think about the cylinder pressure in the piston and in the combustion chamber at 3,400 horsepower, to my knowledge, and everyone I know, no one knows what that pressure is.
Right.
Does that knowledge exist? I'm sure there's a race team somewhere that has deep pockets that knows that number.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably in the pulling world.
Right.
But for what we're doing, we don't know that pressure, and it's beyond what we've done. So I think it's possible that maybe combustion pressure got up in the needle of the injector and did something. I don't know.
Very well.
But when I let off the throttle and it was slowing down on the dyno, you could hear it was running bad, and it was gray and smoking, and you knew it was hurt.
Right.
So I was like, well, it doesn't matter what it is, because either way, the pumps and the injectors are going to flux diesel.
Yeah. And
the head's going to be exchanged.
Yeah.
And all this will just be reconditioned. We'll send the block, we'll send the rods, you know, we'll just recondition it, and so we'll just start over.
Fair enough.
See what happens then.
So overall, now that we have the engine disassembled and all that good stuff, what's your overall thoughts?
It looks freaking great. It really looks great.
Yeah.
For what we've put this thing through and the amount of abuse it's taken and the parts that are in it, it's tits.
And this isn't some high dollar build.
No. I think you can build this whole motor for 20 to 30,000, probably.
Yeah.
The tough part is you can't get the block anymore. It's a Hamilton comp wet block.
Okay.
So it's high MPA and it's a casting, a whole different casting.
Right.
He doesn't sell them anymore. He just doesn't make them.
Right.
I guess it was non-profitable or however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But there's a handful of them out there, and I have 2 of them, and I would love to get more. But if they don't make it, they don't make it.
No, that totally understand.
We have a few other avenues we're kind of going down in the block world.
Okay.
Like I can't sell this motor. I can't build this and offer this to somebody.
Right.
I can't even get the block. If I did, I would want 1 or 2 for myself first.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just something we built, and it is what it is, and it's done when it's done. I'll let the results do the talking. So I think we are gonna get this coupler, and we're gonna leak test this head right fast when it's off.
There we go.
As far as air leak, now I'll take it to the machine shop and they can coolant leak test it. So maybe we'll find something here that's geysing out. The cracks, I don't know. It could be all the way through to a coolant pass.
So some things that we've noticed here with the head, let me get a better angle for you guys. And this is really common, obvious, in the higher horsepower diesel stuff, is you can see, let me see if I can get a good angle of light. There you go. You guys can see the kind of the little hairline cracks on each one of these as we go down. But again, that's really, you know, that's common stuff that happens over time. And actually the cracks look not nearly as bad as other heads that I've seen. But overall, I think it looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than I thought it was going to look like.
Yeah. Well, it looks a lot better laying this way than it did when we had it, when we were pressure checking it on the truck. So
yeah, it looked pretty bad when it was on the truck. But you know, there's multiple cracks throughout it. It's just part of doing business. Yeah. You port ahead, you CNC port ahead, you're taking material away. Right. Then you're closer to the coolant. Right. And the coolant probably flash boils under a pull or something, right? It gets so hot. Yeah. Making a run. Right. There's no telling what the coolant does. Right. Maybe that's where it all went, between blowing out the tailpipe. It probably vaporized inside the head, the big hit. Very, very well possible. I mean, if you listen to the dyno pull, anybody that really listens to it, you can hear almost 2 pulls. You hear the motor, the turbos and the fuel, that comes up to pressure, and you hear the first 2 kits, and it kind of sings. But right at the end, the last 300 RPM, you hear a little whap, just a smack, a heck of a smack. Right. And that's the 2 big kits when they finally came on all the way. And they came on late. They came on real late. I almost lifted because I was watching the tack and it wasn't accelerating the way it normally does. Yeah. So I kind of thought to abort run. Yeah. And then I didn't. And then it just went whap right at the end. Just a little bit. And I think that was the power. I think that was the full hit. When that happens, there's no telling what happens inside that coolant. Yeah, there's a lot of... That whole head's full of coolant, right? Yeah. And it's so hot, it probably just blows it right out. I don't know. There's no telling. I don't know. Maybe someone else knows, but I don't. I didn't have a camera inside there, so I don't know. Neither did I. But let's... Dyno. Well, Sarah and Matt have now purchased that dyno. Oh. And it's in their possession, and that will be the dyno there. And we do have a new set of injectors, and we do have another engine that's a little bit better. Okay. And so we got some stuff we're going to be bringing to that too. So, are you going to try to push the limits again? Absolutely. Why not? Okay. Well, you guys heard it here first from him. See him at the All Truck Challenge in Delaware and see what he has up his sleeve.